All right, congratulations on making it to level 1D notes. You're almost done with level 1 and you're almost to your first formative assessment. And it's really the only formative assessment this time because the next one is going to be your summative assessment at the end of level 2. How exciting that we're moving so quickly through this. So let's get started. We're going to talk now about the least common multiple. So it sounds a little bit similar to greatest common factor, but least common multiple. Let me get my pens going. Least common multiple. Okay, oh, 1 second. Just want to make sure you can see that. Okay, now we're in business. So least common multiple. Okay, when we're looking at those, we again, we're talking about a multiple that's a little different than a factor. Multiple is when we're multiplying two numbers together, and then whatever the answer is we get is called the multiple. So, whereas factor are those numbers that we're multiplying together, the multiple ends up being the answer. So last time when I said 2 times 3, those were the factors of 6. Well, now you could say 6 is a multiple of 2 and 3, because if you take 2 times 3, you get 6, so 6 is a multiple of 2. Or I could say 3 times 2 is 6, so 6 is a multiple of 3. So we're talking about multiples this time. Again, they're going to be what the two numbers that we're looking at have in common. It's a multiple they have in common, so it has to be the same. And this time we're going to do least, because if you remember in that video, it said multiples could be infinite. They could go on and on. And so we don't want the biggest one, because that's going to be forever and ever and ever. We'd never find the biggest one because it goes on and on forever. So we want least. So I kind of think of that as like the first. So if you want to write first there, I kind of messed up my 1. There we go. You can if you'd like. But least is saying like the first multiple that they have in common. The first one that they have in common, okay? And we use LCM for these. LCM. Okay? So let's try. So the trick for solving LCM is also using that division ladder. Okay, it makes it go so much faster, and I'm going to show you how we're going to use it just a little differently this time with least common multiple rather than greatest common factor. So we're going to start with this one, our example of 8 and 6. And so I'm going to write my 8 and 6 over here as our examples. And I'm still going to start the exact same way we did last time with drawing that division ladder, that upside down long division sign. And I'm still going to ask myself, what is a common factor that 8 and 6 have in common that I could divide them both by? They're both even numbers, so I'm going to try 2. So I'm going to write my 2 out here. I'm still going to take each number in here and divide it by that 2 because I'm taking that 2 out. So 8 divided by 2, I'm left with 4, and 6 divided by 2, I'm left with 3. Okay, now when I look at 4 and 3, there are no more common factors other than 1. The 1 is the only thing I could divide them by, and I don't really need to do that because I'm just going to end up with 4 and 3 again, so it's kind of pointless to do that. So now here's the difference. Last time when we did the GCF, we focused on this side part here. So if I was just finding the GCF, the greatest common factor of 8 and 6, it'd be 2. But I'm not doing that this time. So let me undo that so we don't get confused. This time, we're finding the least common multiple. So what I'm going to do this time, and let me switch colors, actually I'll use blue. I kind of like to draw this out so you can see. So we're going to take the 2 times the 4 times the 3, and do you notice when I circle those it makes an L for least common multiple? I think that's kind of nifty. So we're going to multiply those 3 numbers together. So we have to include what's on the bottom here too, because remember we're getting bigger. So I couldn't say that 2 was the least common multiple because you can't take 8 times a whole number to get 2 or 6 times a whole number to get 2. So that wouldn't make sense. Multiples have to get bigger because we're multiplying. Factors can be smaller, but multiples are bigger. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So the LCM between these numbers is 24. And I'm going to make that way thicker so you can see it. Let's see here. Oops. Yep. Well, it's not a lot thicker. I got to keep messing with it, I guess. Learning process, growth mindset. but 24, kind of outline it here for you, would be their least common multiple. And if I listed out their multiples, like let's say I did my multiplication facts here. If I start with 8, I'm going to have 8, 16, and then I get to 24. And I could keep going, but I'm going to stop there for the moment. And then when I do the same thing with 6, I got 6, 12, 18, and then I get to 24. But look, as I list their multiples, 24 is that first common multiple they have. So I'm going to circle those. Sorry, a little bit of malfunctions here while I'm trying to do this. Let me see if I can do it differently. There we go. A little bit better. There we go. So 24 is that least common multiple. So the number that when you're multiplying the 8 and 6, the first one that they come to. But you can also use that division ladder as a quicker way, especially when these numbers get bigger. 8 and 6 are pretty small right now, but if we get bigger, it's going to be a lot easier to use this division ladder. But if it's too confusing, you can always list the multiples. That's a good strategy too. Okay? And so what does this number mean? It means it's their least common multiple, or you could say the first multiple they have in common. Okay? So try the practice on the next slide. See what you can accomplish and check with the answer key, and then you should be getting pretty close to getting through that first formative assessment. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.